Welcome along. It's finally here, day 4 of the Cheltenham Festival. This is the Sporting Life Timeform preview. David Ord joined by Dan Barber, Ben Fearnley and Matt Brocklebank to look ahead to the action. And the Well-Child Gold Cup, Dan, is a feature race on the final day. And in Boum Photo, we've got a horse bidding to join the greats, the Immortals, by winning a third Gold Cup. So why isn't this a horse that we're hitching the whole festival to?
I think it's probably been said before, it's the fact we don't see much of him really. I don't want to say it's a cynical approach, but maybe it's not as sporting as one as you might anticipate. He's not a sort of horse that's going to come over for a King George, have a crack at that, or a Betfair Chase. That's not the method they've chosen. And much in the best mate mould, the method they've chosen has obviously worked very well. Have the run at Tremor, freshen him back up, and he's been pretty lethal the last 2 years. I think one of his great strengths is just how versatile he is. Can position him pretty much anywhere, doesn't look like he's ever going to make a mistake, and he's got that blend of speed and stamina that sets apart so many Gold Cup horses. That's what won it for him last year. It was the ability to be right place, right time, get away, and then as the pack started to close, he'd already just built up enough of an advantage. So he's the obvious starting point again, Dave, and the others have probably got to reach his level, but it's a deep enough race. And Champ's one of the younger pretenders. I think the two lads would probably have a fair bit more to say about him. I'm a big believer that the Gold Cup throws up Gold Cup horses, cliche that sounds. He's in that bracket, Boum Photo, but I think Native River very much is as well, and maybe he's dependent on bad ground, but when he ran under less testing conditions in the Gold Cup a couple of seasons ago, he got messed around at the start, things didn't go for him, he was rushed up to lead and must have used up bags of petrol just to do that. And still wasn't beaten that far back into fifth. So for me, the best or most similar race we've seen to a Gold Cup this season was that rearranged Cotswold, a punishing, stamina sapping contest. And as usual, he absolutely thrived under those circumstances. He's double figures. He's just an archetypal Gold Cup horse. And to say the stable have had a really, really quiet time of things generally, at least he showed at Sandown that he still retains, if not all of his ability, a very high quantity of it, and don't see loads of pace competition this year. I don't think there'll be many that will be wanting to take him on or even thinking it's a different route that they could do. I think he's the cast iron front runner, and I just think he'll keep on pouring it on. If something comes and chins him, fine, but I hope 3 don't.
Fair case made for Native River there. Ben, let's talk Champ with you. We've seen him once this season. We've seen him in the Game Spirit over 2 miles at Newbury. What did you make of it?
I think I personally was really positive about the performance, to be honest, in terms of his Gold Cup chances. I think people have looked at it one of 2 ways. They seem to be very extreme one way or the other. They seem to, like everything these days, I guess. You've got a horse that's travelled really well and jumped really well over 2 miles and only just been done for speed after the last, and everyone's gone, well, he's run well at 2 miles, he's going to be too keen in a Gold Cup. That's not necessarily the case at all, I don't think. To me, the positives to take from it were that his jumping was the number one thing, because that's the one thing that I've always had in the back of my mind about him, even with that remarkable performance in the RSA. A few fences in that, he was losing ground, he was taken very wide by Geraghty, possibly because that's Geraghty's style, but also possibly to make sure that he was seeing his fences. But he got very sort of slow into a couple of them and lost ground after them, and I think that was really coming out of the RSA. You get over the remarkable surge that he made up the hill, and then you think, is his jumping, or I did personally think that is his jumping going to be a bit of an issue if he goes for a Gold Cup next year. I think he showed at Newbury that it was a very clean round. He lacked nothing in speed and accuracy, and he was going a bit of a higher pace as well, you'd have to say, compared to 3 mile plus pace. So I took a lot of positives from it. He showed he was fit and well. He showed he's still got loads of enthusiasm, and his jumping was as good as I've seen it. So I was very positive on him. The price is that's where I get to a sticking point, I guess, because he was available at 12-1 widely before he ran. And now he's 9-2, and I think obviously he's proved his well-being and everything else, and he has for me has enhanced his chances. But it just looks about the right price for me. So I wouldn't necessarily be telling everyone that he's a brilliant bet at 9-2, because I think the market is probably about right at the top. Boum Photo should be favourite. I think Champ should be second favourite. So not many angles there, but I certainly think he's a fascinating runner, and he could still have more to offer. He's still quite unexposed.
Matt, how do you see it?
Well, yeah, Champ's just box office, isn't he? He's brilliant. He's kind of, named after McCoy. He's going to be some story. you go back through his novice chase campaign, he's just sort of done everything. He's just had such a strange kind of career really up until this point, including that run over 2 miles, and then obviously the day when he nearly went the wrong side of the rails under Barry Geraghty. That RSA last year, I've never seen anything like it. Absolutely incredible performance. He ran in the Ballymore like a Gold Cup horse. You know, he got done for speed by City Island. He ran really well. Then he went to Aintree and bolted up over 3 miles from Emerton. A good horse, decent ground. I think Champ's a real potential winner here. I think he might well be the main danger. And with Ben, the market's not got it wrong. I think he is the danger. A Plus Tard has to be respected. He's one of these kind of bred for speed, really. Converted 2 milers, beat Chaka Poussoir last Christmas. Placed in the Ryanair chase. That's, you know, a really good stepping stone traditionally, but I think it's a bit of a catch-22 for A Plus Tard for me, because I think he really revels in deep ground testing conditions, and yet if it comes up soft at Cheltenham over 3 miles too, I think that might really count against him. I can't really see him thriving necessarily over a horse like Native River in that scenario, so I'm a little bit lost with him, and I think I'm going to use him in the betting to look somewhere else. Boum Photo, very, very solid. People were knocking his comeback run. I mean, he smashed Acapella Bourgeois really readily. He's come out and won since. I mean, looks reasonable form to me. I don't think he's lost an ounce of that kind of enthusiasm. You know, a horse can go to Cheltenham and run in 2 Gold Cups and come back with the tail between the legs for a season or 18 months, and there's not a jot of that at all with Boum Photo. I think he's going to run a really, really solid race. I hope Champ might be the one to do it. You could look a little bit further in the market, but I think you're just sort of clutching at straws a little bit. I really do like Native River. If there's a bit of juice in the ground, I tipped him anti-post last year and he didn't make it, obviously, and I was a bit gutted because I kind of thought that was his big chance, because everyone had written him off because horses don't win the Gold Cup, lose it and come back and win it, obviously, other than Corto Star. And he's now another year older, but he's lightly raced still, isn't he? And if the Tizard team were to just catch fire next week and into Aintree, as we've seen before with the Yard, I know they've had a tough winter and a tough time of things, but Native River is a proper Gold Cup horse. Really like him, and I like his price. So Champ at the top of the market, Native River each way as well, I suspect, for me.
The other horse that's going to go forward, Willie Mullins has now said Kenboy. They regret not making the running last year. It was his decision, not Patrick's. Can anybody, I mean, in terms of talent, there's a case that can be made for Kenboy, but how worried would you be about the previous visits to Cheltenham with him?
Yeah, massively so. And I agree with both points you make, Dave. Think back to that Punchestown Festival, and probably Boum Photo might have been slightly over the top after his first Gold Cup win, but Kenboy, on the day, seemed to give him a beating on merit. And no horse has done that to Boum Photo since. So ability, not in question, but jumping, definitely in question. He's a very eager horse, almost too enthusiastic, and I think it leads to him getting in close too often. And you can get away with it at some of the smaller tracks in Ireland, but you can't really get away with that at Cheltenham, as he's shown in his 2 visits. He's unseated early and didn't run much for a race last season.
And Ben, the final point, we're filming this the week before, the one horse that he's been left in the National Hunt Chase today as we're speaking, on the Wednesday, on the opening day, is Royal Pagal for Venetia Williams and Rich Ritchie. Were he to pitch up in a Gold Cup, where's he reached so far, do you think? Would he be a viable contender for this?
I think I would be sort of half against him if he ran a Gold Cup. I think they've made the right decision to go for the novice race. He's got a lot of experience. He can put that to good use. I don't think he's quite earned the shot at the Gold Cup this year, just based on, I know he's won very, very impressively. He's looked really abnormal in the way that he's won as well, which obviously marks him up as being a potentially very, very good horse. But particularly the Haydock race, I just thought that completely fell apart. Now, there was a time figure attached to it. He couldn't have done it any easier. There was nothing in behind. One of the favourites came out beforehand. I think Sam Brown was my idea of his biggest danger going into it. He didn't run. I think the Brian Ellison horse, Sam's Adventure, he hit the deck early. it was just, he was beating absolutely nothing for me. And that is a very preview show sort of turn of phrase, but I do think that's probably applicable to that, to what he did there. He's already got the form in the book though. If you look back at his other runs, he's got the strong handicap form. But to me, I think they've made the right choice going for that easier novice route. He's going to be 6-4 in that, isn't he? And he would have been, what, 8, 9, 10 to 1 in the Gold Cup. I personally think that they've gone the right way with him. And that's before you even get onto the fact that he does jump quite low. And is Cheltenham necessarily going to be exactly the sort of jumping test that he's going to relish? We'll have to wait and see.
Cheltenham coming through, and Sky Bet are on the charge. With money back as actual cash if you lose on the first race of the festival. Sky Bet, that's betting better.
Lots to look forward to. Now, we've also got the day one, Matt, the JTB Triumph Hurdle, which Zanna here was dominating the market for, and all of a sudden, we have got a live contender on this side of the IVC.
Yeah, hallelujah. Won't want to talk about this too much, considering I put up Tritonic 12 to 1 anti-post just before he ran at Kempton. Now, obviously, I was pleased with what I saw there. He jumped really, really well. Didn't surprise me a huge amount in the way that he went through the race. This is a class horse, you know, off the flat. He was second at Royal Ascot last summer. You know, you don't need to say much more than that. I mean, he was second to Subjectivist at Hamilton, who went on to win a Group 1 overseas at the end of last season. So he really is a high-class horse that Alan King's got hold of off the flat. Taken to jumps really well. The run, I think the great thing with this horse as well, and we've seen it with high-class horses coming from the flat that have maybe run on into the autumn, or other horses that have come from France, where they've kind of been really busy through the back end of the year before, and it's almost like a bit of a rush to run somewhere, maybe the Adonis, before going to Cheltenham and Aintree, and it can just get ahead of themselves a little bit. Alan King's an absolute master at this. I think he's worked back really well from the Triumph. I suspect he wanted to get a couple of runs into him. It just suggests to me that they were really happy with him, happy to sit on him basically over Christmas, watch all the other horses come out and run. They were happy with where they are. They knew what they had. He had the lovely little run at Ascot where I think he obviously was a whole lot better than he was able to show on the day, and a weaker horse, a weaker finisher might not have got there and got up to beat Gary Moore's horse. But what he went and did in the Adonis was really, really a sparkling performance. I think he goes to Cheltenham with outstanding claims. I know Zanahir is well regarded. Gordon Elliott and the team, they've had a wide range of juveniles to throw at this race, and he has been the number one all along. He looks a big, powerful monster of a horse who's going to enjoy Cheltenham as well. So I think this is a really good clash. It's stupid to boil a race down to two runners at Cheltenham Festival. It always is. The game makes us look silly at the best of times, but I personally think it's between the two, and I'm with Alan King's horse here, Tritonic in the Triumph.
Dan, we're time for us to begin the wrapping up process. Give us your thoughts on the Triumph and a bet from elsewhere on the card for Friday.
Yeah, I say massively. I am very much in the Tritonic camp too. I mean, I remember tweeting Max O'Neill, the owner, back in the summertime after Ascot, saying, I think you're fab for the Triumph now. And the noise then was he wouldn't even be going hurdling, they'd wait until next season. But you just don't get flat horse of that quality going jumping nowadays. 106, 107 or something on the level. On Timeform ratings, that's £20-30 better than the average horse going hurdling nowadays, because so many have been sold off to Australia, whatever. So I'm definitely with him. Idea of my best bet elsewhere on the card. I go for the County at a price. I'm looking at a horse Strong Glance for Ollie Murphy. Jumpers Bumpers aren't the ordinary breeding ground for Cheltenham Festival winners, but he has done something in his 2 wins in Jumpers Bumpers at Lingfield that horses just don't do. Last to first, up the inside at Lingfield, giving weight to good horses like Beat the Judge last time the pair were clear. He's not had many goes in 2 mile handicap hurdles on decent ground. He's likely to get that. The Greatwood was heavy. That was no use to him. And he's run at Aintree over 2.5 the time before that behind Jacamar. he showed that he's still cut out for hurdling, but I just don't think he saw the trip out as well. Last chance to learn. If he can't do something in a stronger run county with his running style, with barely any hurdles through the last 6 furlongs of the race, then he doesn't have any future in terms of hurdling, but he's a price to definitely compensate for the doubts.
Brilliant stuff. Ben, thoughts on the Triumph and a bet for elsewhere?
Yeah, I mean, Triumph-wise, I think for me, looking back on the season, trying to remember these performances, Zanahiyr is the one that sticks in my mind as just being that penultimate run where he got a really strongly run race. He had a well-backed Mullins horse come from France against him, who was very, very strong in the market that day, and he just absolutely blitzed him. And I thought there and then that this is probably a horse that's probably going to go very close in the Triumph, and I wouldn't necessarily be backing him at 9-4. I think it's the right sort of price now. But he'd be my idea of the winner. I think Zanahiyr. In terms of a bet on the day, I'll go a bit left field here. The Hunter Chase, not the Fox Hunters anymore. A horse called Red Indian for Kelly Morgan. Remember backing this horse for the Peter Marsh sort of going back 12, 13 months now. Really, really strong in the betting on the day. He was with Ben Pauling, still unexposed really when he joined Kelly Morgan. I think he'd won a race at Ayr and it just had that sort of unexposed profile. He'd always shaped like a stay. I was interested in him for the Peter Marsh. Bombed through the race, didn't find, still ran okay. It was very, very testing ground that day. I've been waiting for him, sort of had him in the back of my mind to run in a better ground staying race. He's gone hunter chasing now. He bolted up in 2 hunters in the autumn before the shutdown, so he's qualified then. And they've been able to give him a nice break. And if you look at his record under rules, a break is very important to him. I think he tends to perform well when he's had some time off. And he's got that now. Kelly Morgan's got a good record in the race. She saddled Top Wood to place in the race, I think 2018, 2019. And that was off a break as well. So she can clearly get one ready at home. So Red Indian, I'm hoping can run well. He's about 12-1 in that Hunter, I can't even.
Hunterless Hunter Chase.
Yeah, the Fox Hunter, the Foxless Hunter.
This is weird. We've had tips of the cross country and the Hunter Chase or the Fox. No, don't know the Hunter Chase. We can't call it.
Yeah, the Hunter Chase.
Which is tremendous. Matt, last but not least, best of the rest for you on Friday.
I've not been blown away by the Irish horses lining up for the Albert Bartlett. I thought maybe the Brits had a squeak here, and I quite like Adrimel for Tom Lacey, another trainer looking to claim his first festival win, but a trainer on the up, I think. Going places, he's got a really nice horse here. Form's worked out all the way along. The Leamington, the novice hurdle at Warwick, is one that I always keep an eye on. It's been won by the new one, Willoughby Court. Generally a really good race. Now, obviously, he didn't win by the distances that they won by 10 and 12 lengths or whatever. He won narrowly in a bunch finish. But I thought he definitely wanted to mark up from that. He was giving £3 to everything in the field. Quite nice bunch of horses. And he had to make his own running that day. I just think he's value for a whole lot more. The mixed messages from the form. I think the second's been beaten since when favourite at Haydock, but that was a bit of a throw-out race. It just completely didn't run its race at all. I like the third, David Pipe's horse, Make Me a Believer, and the fourth and fifth have won since. So I think generally speaking, the form is a line of form to take a positive view on. I like him to take on the Irish horses, possibly not experienced, but stepping up to 3 miles, definitely going to suit this horse, bred for that sort of trip. And I think he was winning over 2 miles despite the trip earlier in the season rather than because of it. I'm going to absolutely shoot for the stars in the county. I do like You Raised Me Up for Martin Brassil. If that comes over, it runs in the county. I think it will. Connections had one of the favourites for the Coral Cup a couple of years ago, same ownership, that ended up pulling up, and it had question marks over stamina, so I don't think they're going to make the same mistake again. I think they might go county hurdle with You Raised Me Up, who last year was placed, looked like it had won the Ladbrokes hurdle, the big handicap there at Leopardstown in February, was lined up for Cheltenham. They were talking about the county all along, and it rained heavily. Didn't want that. They pulled it out, waited for Punchestown. Obviously, Punchestown was lost. He's come out this year, he's won a maiden, he's won a novice, winning despite the small fields. I think he's genuinely one of the better handicapped horses coming over from Ireland, off 141. And in the same race, if he runs, how about Le Patriot? It could be 66-1, trained by Dr. Richard Newland. I think if this horse was trained by Dan Skelton, he might be a bit of a springer, and he might be one that everyone's talking about. he's got options at the festival. I'm not totally sure this is the option. It's the race I'd run him in because he's so well handicapped. He runs off 141. Last year he was running in the champion hurdle, running in the international hurdle. He was rated 154, having won the previous year's the big race at Haydock at the end of the season. He went up a lot in the weights. He's come down now. He's been novice chasing, so he's won 2 of his 5 starts in novice chases. He's done okay, but he unseated last time out. I think they might go away from chasing now. If they dropped him into the county hurdle, he's one to keep an eye on at a massive price. He won't be popular at all.
That's what you want, a huge price to end our preview of the Cheltenham Festival. That's it. That's day 4, a day in which Boum Photo bid to join the likes of Arkle and Best Mate in becoming a 3-time winner of the Gold Cup, and plenty more to look forward to too.